morning children. In the previous classes we have studied many of the features of the Indus Valley or the Harappan civilization, how the civilization flourished or the Harappan culture flourished on the bank of Indus River. Then how the well developed civilization it was, how people constructed their houses and agriculture etc., or what were the materials they obtained from this region also shows us how developed culture it was. But this civilization came to an end. Around 3900 years ago, we find the beginning of major changes in this locality on the Harappan region or the Indus Valley region, where the civilization was well developed or flourished, came to an end. So no one knows, the historians know, nobody knows that clearly what was the proper reason of the end of this civilization, how this civilization came to end. The cities of the Harappans were completely destroyed. What was the reason? There is no clear evidence, but historians guess many reasons. They say many reasons for that, maybe not completely sure. So here, what were the changes occurred in this region? Let us discuss today. People stopped living in many of these cities where we have studied Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira, Kalibangan, Lothal. These were large cities. But later people stopped living in these cities. They moved away and the cities were destroyed. All the houses were broken, even the drainages were broken. So all drainage system were broken, everything, houses all were destroyed, dilapidated buildings etc. were found there. About 3900 years ago, all this completely, there was a devastation on these regions. So we find the garbage largely piled in some streets, drainages were broken. What happened to these cities? So there is no clear evidence, but the buildings were also newly constructed buildings in a different style also. Over the streets also we can find there. Why did all this happen? And we are not sure what happened. Some scholars suggest that the rivers dried up. Why people have moved away? People left these places. The large cities were left or abandoned by the people. Maybe the reason the river, Indus Valley River, we say Indus River was flowing through this region, it might have dried up. Then there is no water available for agriculture, so that people might have moved away from there. So another reason this could have happened because why the fuel was required for making the bricks and for smelting copper ores, so that deforestation had taken place. Another reason is deforestation. What is deforestation? Cutting down of the trees which were available in those locality. People used more consumption. People were consuming more and more of wood, so that deforestation took place. So people had to move away from that region. So that may be one reason. Besides this, grazing large herds of cattle, sheep and goat may have destroyed the green cover. Another reason, the people had large number of animals, cattle or sheep or goat. When continuously grazing on the pasture lands, green cover grasslands might have completed, so that people might have moved away from this region to in search of pasture lands. That may be one reason. So some other reasons may be rivers might have flooded or overflowed. Okay, when river overflowed, the cities might have drowned in water. That may be one reason people moved from these areas. Okay, so there are many reasons. Okay, not particular one reason maybe, and the historians suggest or scholars suggest many reasons for the end of this civilization. So people left all these regions and moved away. So they moved from these regions towards the east direction, towards north and northeast direction. That means the present day India moved away to from Pakistan region. Also they might have moved to the Indian regions of present day India. It appears as if the rulers also lost control. Other reason, they are saying the rulers lost control of the people, so that people also left these regions. So the sites in the Sindh and West Punjab, that is present day Pakistan region, Sindh and the Western Punjab region, that is in the Pakistan region, now presently existed. So people moved away from these regions towards the west, and from these regions they moved away into the new places from Western Punjab and the Sindh regions. From there they moved away to other regions, not in large cities, smaller towns, and they made smaller settlements to the east direction, that is coming towards India. When from these regions, when the people moved towards east, that is India, then further they moved south or part of India, that means the present day South India. So they might have settled in these localities later on. So new cities also were emerged in 1400 years in these regions. Now in the same way we can find one civilization in Egypt also, in the African continent. In Egypt also, same way people lived in this period, same period of Indus Valley civilization. We know that most of the Egypt is a desert. Large parts of Egypt is lying in the Sahara desert. So except for the rivers are flowing, the lands along the Nile River is flowing through Egypt in Africa. So along the Nile River people settled. So large population settled here. About 5,000 years ago, kings ruled over Egypt. There were kings ruling over Egypt. These kings sent armies to the distant lands to get many materials, which we know that it is a desert region, so many things are not available in this locality. So kings send his army or men to other parts of the world, to distant parts, to collect gold or silver, ivory, timber and precious stones for their purposes. They brought from distant lands. Also they built huge tombs known as pyramids. Pyramids. What is pyramid? Huge tombs. What is tomb? Tomb. This is not tomb. This is tomb. Okay. So tombs were constructed. That means when the buildings of the dead bodies to keep or buried. We know that in ancient period, also in the medieval period, the Mughal rulers also in our country, they constructed tombs, large buildings for the keeping their dead bodies. So they constructed the tombs earlier. Also after the death of the king, their sons also constructed such kind of tombs. We can find in India many places. So here the rulers who ruled over Egypt, they constructed tombs which were known as pyramids for the dead bodies to be preserved. So when they died, the bodies of the kings were preserved in the pyramids and buried inside it was kept preserved, not completely. Now we are burying in the earth or burning the dead bodies. It was not burned, but they preserved it for forever. Okay, so the dead bodies were buried or preserved inside the pyramids, that is the tombs there. Okay, so these bodies were carefully preserved, and now we know that the bodies which were preserved by the ancient men in Egypt were known as mummies. Mummies are the dead bodies carefully preserved in the pyramids. A large number of objects were also buried along with the dead bodies. When the kings died, many of the objects used by the kings in his life also were buried, because they believed life after death. They thought that there is another life after death, so that the materials used or objects used by the kings also were buried along with the dead body, including the food and drink also, whatever the food and drink also were kept along with the dead body. Clothes, ornaments and utensils, kitchen utensils or musical instruments, weapons and even animals also were buried along with. Even sometimes even the serving men and women were also buried along with the rulers, because they thought that after in the next life king needs servants, so that the people who served the kings also were buried along with the dead body. Okay, so these were among the most elaborate burials known in the world history. So such kind of pyramids can be found in Egypt. The ancient pyramids are still found without any damage in the parts of Egypt.